So welcome. Happy Saturday, Shantam fam. I hope everybody's doing good. You know what? It is so cold today, Tam. Fall is here
I know.
and it's cool.
It not just cool, it cold.
Yes, it's cool. It's cool. We're in Canada.
Right. And we're just like a few days into fall.
I know,
right?
I know. But you know what? We are so happy to have you guys here with us this evening. We're going to be talking to two amazing women, and we're going to be talking about purpose through pain. Especially now during COVID, there's so much that has been going on with so many people. And it is such a wonderful thing when you can pivot
Yes.
your pain
Yes.
and really push purpose. And that's what
Absolutely.
these women are going to talk about tonight with their life story and their experiences. We have phenomenal women with you.
Yes.
We have Kamara Hamilton Moody and Michelle Scarlett.
Yes.
But I'm just gonna give a brief bio of Kamara, and then I'll pass it on to my sister Tam to introduce Michelle.
Right.
So Kamara Hamilton Moody, she's a native of Jamaica. She's a Yardie.
Yardie straight up. And you know.
Yes, she represented, right? She's currently residing in the United States for 22 years. She's a single mother of 3 daughters and 1 son. And I realized she put the son in S-U-N. So many people talk to her about that.
I
Right?
know.
Why the son stand out,
But
right?
you know, us mothers of
Boys,
boys.
mom boys.
Yes.
Yes. Right? And she has 2 grandsons. And trust me, when you see Kamara, you would never think she's probably a grandma. I'm not gonna say
I
grandma.
know.
She's a grandma, right? She's a childcare provider who owns and operates her own 24-hour childcare facility.
Right.
And for people who are single mothers or mothers or fathers, you know the importance of childcare. And she operates a 24-hour childcare facility. She's very passionate about her career choice because she's extremely cognizant of the need for safe, loving, educational, nurturing environments for children. She's a survivor of sexual, emotional, and mental abuse. However, she does not consider herself a victim. Instead, she considers herself a victor as she has had to overcome many obstacles. She knows intimately the issues we will speak about today as she became a teen mom at 16 years old.
Mhm.
Though she was scorned and ridiculed, her faith in God and her determination, along with a strong support system, has led her to be a position to give back, mentor, advocate, and be an activist for young women and men who find themselves in unfortunate predicaments.
Mhm.
Listen, Kamara is a boss,
Yes.
and she is going to speak to us more about her story this evening.
And it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Michelle Scarlett. So you may have seen Michelle on our show before,
Mhm.
and yes, she was that good, and her story was that interesting that we had to have her back. And so Michelle Scarlett, who is an author, speaker, activist, mother, and overcomer, she had her beginnings in one of Jamaica's inner city communities. So
Mhm.
another
Yardie to the bone.
Yes. And she comes from the northwestern end of the island, where I hail from. And she was faced with a lot of childhood trauma.
Mhm.
She talked to us about before being the other child. And she also became a mother at the age of 15 and faced what seemed to be insurmountable challenges in her
Mhm.
teens and her early adult years. And Michelle herself is truly an overcomer. She recounts most of the gripping details of her life and the struggles that she had in her early years in 2 books. So the first book is called In Search of Self, A Message of Hope. And this book really brings the story about the early years of her life, through poetry and a recount of some really very significant events in her life at that very young age. Her second book, just published.
Yes, so which is we're gonna just call her out today because that's a big accomplishment.
Hot off the press.
Yeah.
Is called Against All Odds. And it recounts the struggles of her single parenthood journey, complicated by a move to the US and all the hardships that followed there. However, this book, like the other, not only speaks to the struggles that Michelle has had, but shows us how forgiveness, self-love, and success is possible. It will inspire you to dream and achieve regardless of your past and against all odds. I read the book in 1.5 days.
It's not good.
Yeah, I couldn't put it down. And we're going to encourage you, everybody watching, to listen very closely to these ladies because Michelle has giveaways for us tonight. And the only way you're going to be able to take advantage of those giveaways is if you really listen to her story and what she has to say to us. So we're not going to keep them away from you any longer. We are going to welcome Kamara and Michelle. Hi, ladies.
Hi, ladies. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Hey, Michelle, you're on mute, son.
You're on mute, Michelle.
I knew that.
Okay, ladies. So we're gonna just jump right into it. So we wanted to start by you ladies explaining to the viewers the connection between you two. If you've ever met, what's the connection like? How did you guys get connected? I want you to share that story with the viewers.
Kamara, you want to go ahead and do that?
Okay. So I read the Jamaican paper every day. And it so happened that one day I'm reading and I don't remember what the headline was, but it was something that really, got me. So as I'm reading, I looked at the picture, I'm like, oh, her story. And I'm reading, I'm like, oh, that's me.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, she must be on Facebook because that's how we find everybody these days. So I went on Facebook and I, looked up some people with a name and I had her picture up and I'm looking at the picture and I found her and I sent her a long message, a book. I sent her my whole life story.
Okay.
And we became friends and sisters at heart. And we have never met in person, but
look at that.
That's my sister.
So when Kamara wrote me that message, I gotta tell you, I felt, I don't know, a sense of purpose, so to speak, right? Somebody out there can relate exactly to what I was going through and what I went through, and was able to open up to a total stranger about what they went through, right? Who knew how long Kamara wanted to tell somebody exactly what was going on?
We lost your video, Michelle. We lost you on video. Okay, there you go. Yes. Right.
Who knew that, who knew how long Kamara wanted to talk to somebody about it? Yes. And here I am, total stranger, and we connected. And from that day on, she's just been a blessing to whatever I'm doing, whatever. She sends me messages, she sends me diapers, we talk about stuff and, the thing that she's going through. She shares whatever her achievements are with me. I feel so honored, Kamara, that you feel like, I am a part of your life and journey, and that you wanted me to be on the lookout for the things that you're doing, and you're watching also the things that I am doing, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
That is an incredible story. Yes, I mean, the fact that you've never met and you are both so connected seems like in spirit and in purpose as well, right? Like having shared similar types of experiences. And the one that I think, the main thing that I think connected you both from, you know, in terms of relation to your story was the fact that you both were teenage moms.
Yes.
And so, you know, teenage pregnancy, it's a real thing. It happens, right? And what we want to know is just a little bit about each of you, your experiences in that space in having a teenage pregnancy and becoming a teenage mom. Can you share with our viewers a little bit?
So my story is out there a lot, Kamara, as you know. So I'm going to be brief so that, because I really want Kamara to share her story.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was 14 when I got pregnant. I wasn't what you call it, one of those teenage children that, or little girl that go out and try to experience everything. It was just one of those things that just happened, right? And I didn't even know I was pregnant, and my neighbors were kind of like looking at me saying something is wrong, and I'm looking at them going, well, what's wrong, you know? And you know how older people can tell from your, you know, the look on your face, your paleness and whatever, they just can tell that something is not right in your body. And they're like, are you pregnant? I'm like, no, I'm not pregnant. You know? And because I only experienced sex that one time, there's no way I could be pregnant, right? And then, so I started really wanting my period to come, really looking for it, like literally searching every day. It wouldn't come. So, of course, now I'm like, it can't be. So now I start checking for the baby, right? I'm starting to press my stomach, trying to, you know, see if anything is there, and just going crazy in my mind because I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? I'm 14. You know, I could barely call the guy my boyfriend, right? We barely knew each other. As a matter of fact, he just moved next door. And here I am pregnant. And I'm like, there is absolutely no way. So of course, you know, growing up in the church, I started praying because whatever you pray for, you get, right? I'm like, God, please take this baby. I don't want it. I don't want it. It's just going to totally destroy my life, right? And I couldn't do anything else after that other than just getting rid of this thing that's inside of me. And of course, it came to pass that I had my baby. The pregnancy I was lonely for the most part. I had some support from where I was living next door to my house, right? And there was ladies there too, were teen moms, and they helped to, you know, encourage me that this is not the end of the road. And then of course the Women's Center. So that's where I every day to, you know, feel like I am not an outcast because everybody there was going through the same thing, and the women there were encouraging, and you know, just to be there for how many hours of the day, you know. And then of course I had to go back home to being sad and, you know, ashamed and all of that. But the Women's Center did absolutely save me. I don't know if it wasn't center, because mentally I was like gone.
You're not prepared, right?
Exactly. And you know, all the words, the worthless, good for nothing, you know, I should be ashamed of myself, going to Montego Bay High, and you know, not in these nice words, right?
Right. Yeah.
But so that's all I felt for the entire 9 months was shame, neglect, rejection, and all.
Right.
Yeah.
And pregnancy in itself is such a life-changing experience, right? And I can't even imagine how you must have felt as a teenager going through that by yourself, the ridicule and the shame. And it really speaks to the person you are today, Michelle, and your character, and how much you have done, right? How much you have done with the pain that you have gone through to push your purpose, right? And it shows in everything. So we applaud you for that.
Yeah.
We applaud you for that. And the positive supports, as you spoke about the Women's Center.
Yeah.
It's good when you have people around you that could support you and encourage you.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know, one of my purpose, and I'm gonna be short and then I have Kamara tell her story. One of my purpose is kind of enlighten parents and adults that little girls are not always promiscuous when they get pregnant. There's so many things that can happen to a young lady. She could be raped, she even by her own family members, and she cannot speak because she's so ashamed, right? There are women, young girls who were sexually harassed or abused by their own family member. How now do you come and say, I'm pregnant for my uncle or for my cousin so they keep silent while they're being judged, right? Judged and ridiculed and talked about, and it's not always the way we see it, right? A little girl pregnant, you just absolutely don't know what happened or she's not always promiscuous, and so we enlighten, and that is why I'm going on this journey to say, just listen to our story. Somebody asked what happened, and if we can give a helping hand, then we should,
Thank you for sharing that, Michelle.
Thank you for sharing.
Oh, what about you, Kamara?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your journey there.
So pretty similar to Michelle's journey. Mine was, I conceived under very unfortunate circumstances, which it's still a touchy topic. I talk about it, but I wouldn't do it like, if you could read between the lines. It was very unfortunate.
Yes.
I was 15 and gave birth at 16. Needless to say, my mother, who is the district Miss Upright and Perfect, Miss Community, everything, Miss you know what. So now I'm like the scorn of the earth. Not only for the people looking at me, but at home. Home was hell. When I tell it was hell, I'd rather be anywhere but home at that point. So it was beyond lonely. It was beyond embarrassment. And just like Michelle, I wanted to get rid of that thing.
Yes.
And like even now, it was such a hard thing to do, explaining this to my daughter. But it was the absolute worst 9 months of my life.
Oh, wow.
Home was, when I tell you hell, home was hell. But then I had people in the community. I'm always drawn to older folks. So I had people from of all churches, the Pentecostal church, who really, they loved on me. They encouraged me and they supported me, and they had to do this without my mother even knowing.
Oh, wow.
So they were like the behind the scenes people. Then I had a few teachers from school who, again, people had to do this behind the scenes because my mother, outside should let it seem like everything's fine. But dear God, behind closed doors, I'm telling you, it was sheer hell.
Wow.
I didn't expect to have a normal child. Honestly, I absolutely didn't. And whatever flaws she has now, we laugh about it. But if she had came out looking funny, that was all stress.
Wow.
And if whatever she came out to be, it was attributed to stress. So my purpose now is ensuring that whenever I meet people, the young ladies, even men, because men do stress and take that stress home to their, their significant other. I try to help them to make that process very smooth. And I didn't know what postpartum was until I had my second child. And I realized I literally died twice in Jamaica. My entire being died, my soul. I was empty for many, many years. But it was my determination. I knew for a fact people were looking at me funny. They were talking. Again, home was hell.
Yes.
But in my head, I had to make it out. That was not the end of me. I knew it wasn't the end of me, and I was determined to not let that one quote unquote mishap determine my future. I was destined to be great. Don't know how.
Absolutely. I love it.
Speak it.
I love it. Yes.
Someone asked me just this week, she said, did you know when you stepped off the plane that this is how life would be? Like, did you see greatness? I said, oh, I knew that before I stepped off the plane.
Look at that.
And I know I sounded conceited, but I didn't know what manifestation was.
Yes.
But even before I became pregnant, life was, a bit strenuous because my dad wasn't home and all I wanted was my father.
Yes.
But being pregnant, not having my dad again added to the stress. But I always spoke to myself in the mirror. I had no clue. At one point I thought I was crazy because in Jamaica, you talk to yourself and answer back. No, you really got it.
Don't worry, Kamara. We all do it.
I know.
So
we all do
I
it.
was explaining to my friend. That was my escape. I'd be in that mirror talking to myself. One day I'm going to do this. One day I'm going to do that. One day I'm going to have this. Don't know how.
Right.
But when I had my daughter, that was my pain. But I was destined for my pain to be purpose.
Into
Amen.
I took the journey with her. The longest I left her was 6 months when I came here, but I knew she would not be me.
Amen.
She could not, life should never be hard for her, and none of my daughters should be a statistic. So my pain birthed my purpose, not only for my children, but for all the young men and women who I meet along this journey.
Yes. Love it. I love it, Kamara. I'm just getting goosebumps listening to you. And I can see Michelle's face. Michelle is glowing, like she's glowing.
You know what?
Oh, and let me add this. Let me add this. So I'm multitasking. I'm on my laptop, but I'm looking at my my phone on Facebook. And I have to tell you, one of my biggest purpose is watching.
Oh yeah.
Yes. LaFayne was one of my biggest inspirations. I don't know if she even knows that, but I could tell her, right? I could tell her while I'm crying. I met her and she was going through like myself.
Yeah.
And that's my baby. I saw myself in LaFayne and I saw something great. And I could tell you today, that's my fourth child and she's doing amazing. And she did not let that, she wasn't a teenager, but she was alone here. But she did not let that one baby define her. So I tell people, if I could do it,
you can do it.
You know what, Kamara? You guys are champions. You guys are champions. And just listening to you, I know you spoke about the church supporting you. And Michelle, you spoke about the Women's Center, which is big because you need support. And that was one of the questions you were going to ask. But I'm glad you guys spoke on that because you're in difficult times. You need support.
Right.
But one of the things we know in our society, even today, sex, even saying it, sex and sexuality is such a taboo topic. Nobody wants to talk about sex.
Yeah.
Did anybody as young women really sit you down and talk to you about sex and the consequences of sex? Did anybody educate you around that? Anybody?
We heard a thing or two when I'm going to Montego Bay High, but they don't go too deep into sex education. I don't even know if that's what it was called then.
No, it wasn't.
Personal development.
No,
right?
No, it was health. It was health
class.
But nobody now come out right and say sex to really tell you what happens when you have sex.
Right, they're not saying it, and they didn't even want you to talk about birth control because a teenager shouldn't be talking about birth control, right? So I didn't even know what to get if I needed to take something to prevent myself from getting pregnant. Don't go home because all my father said to me was, if you buck your toe, you're on your own. And he's been saying that even before I started developing, and I'm like,
Michelle, you have to explain that one. You have to explain that one.
We can't assume that is all Jamaicans and the lives.
You have to translate that one for the non-Jamaicans.
By the way, if the viewers see us looking down, we're trying to interact with you on the chat. So yes, we're not being rude. We're listening. We're watching the comments.
Yes. So you have to explain. When you say, Michelle, if you buck your toe, you're on your own.
You're on your own. So in my little head, I'm like, how is daddy gonna leave me on my own if me bought me to? But why if me bought me to anyway? Me bought me to a couple times, right?
Yes.
And I'm, what the heck does that mean? You're on your own if you buck your toe. And I'm like, okay.
Yes.
And then of course I started maturing, and he started saying it more like, huh? You're developing now, you're becoming a big girl. If you buck your toe, you're dep on your own. And I'm like, okay, all right. I stopped trying to figure it out.
Right.
And then I bucked my toe.
Yes.
I got pregnant.
Yes.
And he reminded me that he
That-
told me, and I'm like, oh my God,
Mhm.
this is what he was talking about. Never ever said to me, do you have a boyfriend? Are you having sex? Although it's hard for guys back in the day to talk to girls about it, right?
Yes.
But never have I ever had somebody to say, look, Michelle, you're on your period. This is the time. I learned that in school, of course.
Right.
This time you have to be careful. Do not do this. Do not. Of course, it was expected of us not to do certain things, right? And whatever. But never anybody in my family has ever sat me down and say to me, this is what's happening. If you have to do this, use this
Protect
precaution
yourself.
or use these measures, or nothing like that ever happened. I remember my boyfriend asking me one time if I needed Pearl. A time he was trying to introduce me to having sex and whatever, and he said, do you want some Pearl? And I go, no, daddy would beat me, because I thought he was talking about the Pearl.
Yeah.
No, I did not know until after I got pregnant that Pearl
Was a
Was
birth
birth control.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
Look at
So
that.
there you go. I was totally naive when I got pregnant. So
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
What about you, Kamara? Did anybody talk to you about sex or what will happen if you had sex?
No, in high school, my guidance counselor was the Anglican pastor, priest, whatever you call him. So it was, guidance class was very formal,
Yes.
to say the least. And then at home, the only thing I heard was, go make man breed you. You go live out a door. Yeah,
Yeah.
my mother is highly educated, but very much don't have no tact. So that,
Yes.
go make man breed, you go live out a door. You think me I send you to school for go make man breed. And as soon as you talk to somebody, like if she ever see you talk to a male, make him breed you, you workless, you go come in like your father workless, auntie them, the cruff you go turn. And let me
Oh
tell you,
my
my
God.
very defining statement, and I say this all the time. My friend is watching Norma, and I think Norma loved this more than anything else. Here she goes. You see, you not come to nothing in a life. You go have 6 picnic and 3 fire rock stone.
What?
Yes.
What?
So I tried to buy a lot of stoves, like gas stove. I tried to buy a lot of stove because I don't like grill. Every time I see a grill with the charcoal, me just
Oh,
Flashback.
Flashback. I know. Trauma.
PTSD to the fullest. I hate anything that goes on the grill. I don't have to own a grill. It takes me right back to the 6 children and the 3 fire.
It's trauma.
Crazy.
That's sex for me. That is sex for me. That's it. And till this day, I live by the 6 children and the 3 fire rock stone and the workless auntie them, none of which is true. My answer,
Wow.
I finally met them when I was like 28, 30 years old, and they're amazing people.
Yes.
They might not be college grads, but guess what? They have class.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And their children didn't suffer what I suffered with the educated mother. Their children, if you ask me, had more sense at 15 than I did, because their mothers, my 2 aunts, were nothing, and they're still nothing like what I had experienced. I still think to this day, if I had my dad, or not even being at home, but had more access to him, life would have been so much different.
Mm.
Norma confirmed on the chat that yes, she has a lot of stoves.
That's funny.
That's funny. Yeah, and it's just it's kind of sad in a way, right? That if only sometimes the time could be taken to just really be honest, right? To not talk in parables. Don't talk about the bucking of the toe.
Or just to
Don't,
be honest,
yeah,
straight.
just to talk straight about, you know, what one could expect, and the fact that you're developing, and these are the things, regardless of the fact that you're hearing it in school, right? Because again, you don't know to what detail, right? I think it's our responsibility as parents.
Yeah, to talk to our children.
To talk to our
and
children
be open.
and to be open with them about topics
Yes.
like that, right?
Sex, drugs, peer
Yes.
pressure. You know, talk to them, because then they're going out there to hear it from other people. So it's
Exactly.
better we as parents educate them on what can happen and what cannot happen, right?
Right.
But I think it's a generation as well too,
Yes.
right? I think it's a generation as well too. And I'm glad that you guys here now are in a better state where you're educating your children and you're being open about certain conversations, because we have to break certain generational stuff.
Yes,
as well.
absolutely. I know you ladies both talked about, you know, the pain that you've experienced and the purpose that has been birthed out of that. Can you tell us what that is for each of you? What that means?
Kamara, you want to go first?
Okay. So from that pain, what I've birthed is my business, my childcare business. Again, growing up, my mom was an administrator for a hospital, so she wanted me to be her. So in school, I did business education. Honestly, I came to this country. I tried it, but I realized I don't like people. I like children.
You don't like
Grown-ups
big
are not
people.
my
You like
thing.
children.
You like
I like big people.
Little people.
The little people are my people. So
You're funny, Kamara.
Very-
yes. And it's funny how it happened that, you know, take you that course that you didn't even know you were going to get there. So I came here, I worked in retail for a little, you know, got married young, had my second child at maybe 21, 22. Yeah, somewhere there about. The girl is 22, I'm 44, so I had her at 22. Went into retail after the long green card saga. Got into retail. From retail, I got into auditing. So now I'm behind the desk with a computer and the pen. I'm my mother again. In Jamaica, I worked at the tax office. Then I did, I was a purchasing assistant for Brecca Village Resort. So I was my mother the first part of my life. The marriage wasn't very nice. So that killed the whole being my mother's story and drove me. So I had two daughters at this time. So the husband separated the two children. He was older. And I think maybe he thought I was his child at some point. I don't know. So you can't and you shouldn't and don't do. And what to do. So see what I wanted. So being in the jacket suit and behind the desk.
We're hearing you.
We're hearing you. You're just freezing a little bit, Kamara.
A little bit. Your internet might be a little unstable. I think her
Oh, can you hear me? I thought
yeah, we're
my
hearing you
computer
now.
froze for a bit.
Yeah, we're hearing you now.
Okay. Yes, so I went from the administrative side and, you know, life hit me hard and I decided I wanted to be a nanny because that was my only way. He separated the kids. I didn't have help with one. Even though coming here, I don't have immediate family here. So I had to make a family. So again, I went for the older generation. So their daycare nurse became my new mother. And I found friends.
Okay.
Most of them were Americans though. So I'd swap responsibilities in daycare. I pick up their kids, you know, I pick up Kelly's, Kelly pick up mine, and we're switching back and forth. She became an amazing support system. And I met other people along the way. And I ended up being a nanny because now I could take my daughter to work. He wouldn't pick up mine, but he's gonna pick up his. And I said, you know what, enough. So I lost the job, which was a blessing, got into being a nanny.
Okay, we're just having a few
Yeah, it looks like we're having a little bit of technical issues there with Kamara's connection.
Yeah, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I went from being a nanny to, well, I went from administration to being a nanny. And the lady said to me one day, she's like, why are you doing this? Like, we're in school for business. I had no good reason, except that's all I knew. She said, you could take my son and take my car, go to the college and tell them you're going to switch your courses. And I'm looking at her like, hell. And she said, oh, no, you could take him and go. She said, go sign up for early childhood. I'm like, huh? She said, that's what you were made for. You're very good at what you do. I see that in my son. I'm going to take him from the preschool. You're going to be here with him full time and you could go to school.
Oh, wow.
So I switched career.
Wow.
Yeah, I switched college courses. And when I switched, I really liked it. I'm like, yes, this is it. Then I met another lady when I wanted someone to pick up my daughter from school who became my other mother. So I have two mothers here.
Yeah.
And she was doing daycare. And I, she'd pull up with her big truck and she's picking up the kids from school. I'm like, I want to be like her one day. Taking your kids to school and putting them on. All I ever wanted was my kids to be on a school bus and I'm standing at the bus stop. So I do that for these white people. I wanted to do it for me.
Yes.
I met this lady and she looked amazing. I'm like, I'm going to do that. So as I'm going to school, I'm trying to figure out, but how am I going to do that? So I spoke to her and she's like, you know what? I'll show you. And then I had another girl from church who did it. They showed me. Once I got into it, I realized this right here.
This is what you want to do.
But let me tell you how it started, Rocky. For the first 6 months, I made no money because I got all refugee children.
Okay. Yeah.
And made zero money. But again, even meeting them, I realized this is what I wanted to do because I became an advocate for them.
Yes.
I became an advocate. I was at the state building trying to figure out how can they get some money? How will childcare work out? Like, no, I wanted to get paid. I had to work. But I didn't realize I wasn't working just for my paycheck. I was working to help them.
Look at that.
So I helped the individual families. I was working with the caseworkers. I explained to them, what Care for Kids, which is, subsidized payments for kids. And before you knew it, I was working with the organization that brings them here.
Oh, wow.
So it came full circle. And I said, you know what? I met other single moms and single dads and hello, childcare 15 years later.
That's great. That's great, Kamara.
Amazing.
That's great. What about you, Michelle? We know you have both your books, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, but just speak to us a little bit on how your pain birthed your purpose.
So, like I said before, a lot of people don't understand that getting pregnant as a teen is a lot of times just a mistake. It's just a mistake, right? And I want people to understand that. And so my goal was to, however, whenever I can, give back to the Women's Center, right? Just having a child at such a young age made it very difficult, very difficult, right? And up to when you can accept that it was a mistake, even in your adult life at 23, 24, you're still kind of like carrying the shame of being a teenage mom, even though that part of it is over, you still carry it. You still kind of try to hide that you have an older child from men, from everybody, you kind of hide it like, okay, I have a son, old. And then, so, I came here to America and then, of course, it was still hard, still difficult, but the moment that I found, and I've always prayed, I want to give back. I want to give back to these women. So I'm always giving back, not as much as I wanted to. And then I decided to write this book and focus mostly on what a teen mother go through, right? And then from the book, I decided whatever money I made from this book, I am going to give it directly to the Women's Center. First, I decided I wasn't going to give it to those ladies at the Women's Center. My God, I couldn't believe when it came to pass. I could not believe when the book just took off. And to be honest with you, I didn't count. It wasn't about making money for me. It
Right,
was about giving back and just sharing my experience and just, having these women, these young ladies know that it's not the end of the world and that you can achieve. And I felt like I needed to prove to all these people who shamed me, who turned their backs on me, who thought I was good for nothing and worthless. I thought I needed to prove that it was only a fake. And I did that, right?
Yeah.
Pushing forward to help more teen moms realize that, look, it's just a mistake. So you don't need to, beat up on yourself too much. Accept that you made a mistake, love on your babies, and just keep moving forward. And so with that, I am like advocating and collecting diapers and baby food and baby clothes. And Kamara, you came through. Oh my God. The last barrel that I sent to Jamaica, I didn't even have to spend $1 other than for the for sending it there and for shipping it and for clearing it in Jamaica. Or Kamara had me chasing down a car in Maryland. Somebody, one of her friends with a truck load of stuff.
Oh wow.
Lady somewhere, and here I am driving here, and I'm like, meet me there. And then when the lady started coming out of her car with all this stuff, I'm like, more? She goes, yeah, more. And more came, I'm like, more? And she goes, yeah, more. And I'm like,
wow.
Look, so Kamara, I thank you. And I remember when I just did my first diaper drive, and Kamara just boop, boop, and sent me the picture of, and I'm like, who is this girl?
Blessings.
I tell you, when you put stuff out there in the universe, you don't have to have the money. You don't have to have $1 million. You just have to start with whatever you have. Start where you are. And somehow the universe will just put people together. Well, people of like mind, people that want to help. It will just come, because I didn't know I was going to send another barrel off this year. But when I went through and I keep putting in, and I'm like, okay, more? Okay. Okay. And it's been an amazing journey. And I am just, honored and blessed to be able to bless these young women back at the Women. And he out to teen programs here too, close by, will give speeches and give back in whatever way I can, because I know we can save a bunch of those. Because once you get pregnant and you're ridiculed, you can just go to having a whole bunch of other babies, and that's it for your life, right? But I want to reach, I know I can't reach everyone, but I want to reach much of these young ladies as I possibly can to let them know, that there is hope. There is hope.
Awesome. And so, Michelle and Kamara, how can others out there help you, like, to get involved in these initiatives and the stuff that you're doing to help these young people? How would somebody be able to reach you or contribute?
Well, as for me, I've dedicated my books toward helping the women. Every year I want to give scholarships. I want to send whatever I can for the babies. And then, I realized I was sending for the babies and not really looking out so much for the young moms, right? I thought that helping the babies would also help the moms. And I said, you know what? It starts with the mind also, right? So no matter how many diapers I send, no matter how many baby food I send, if the mother is not taken out of that depressing state of mind, it will then pass on to the baby, and she'll be stuck in that mental state for a long time. I know I was, right? I know I was. And so I have dedicated the sale of these books. In Search of was the first one. I know you. And then the second one was Against All Odds. And then I came up with this poetry book because I know that there are people who do not read a lot, right? I know people who have bought the book since 2019 and still haven't read it. So I this poetry book kind of tells the stories in the form of poems about what happened to me when I was pregnant, and also what happened to me when I came here to live in the States, because these baggages carry on for years, especially if you're alone, a lot of support. And like Kamara said, for a long time I was empty. Dead inside. I felt like I was good for nothing, worthless. I wasn't gonna become, especially if you keep trying, right? And you keep meeting up on these barriers. Like you go a little and then boop, you get thrown down, and you're like, okay, that's it. This is serious. They really did say I was gonna become worthless, good for nothing, and I am that. I've proved it. And then another wall, and you get up again and you try again, and something else, boom, push you down again. You're like, what's going on? And so for me to be here, to be able to share with these women, I've just developed a website thanks to my business manager, Patrick Green, where people can go and donate. It could be $1, $2, because I'm trying to do the diaper drive every year. I have bigger things in store. I don't know how it's going to come about, but even this morning I got up and I was excited about the things I wanted to do, right? And I'm there in my kitchen getting all excited, like, oh, this is what I want to do for the women, and I want to buy a big house so that they can come to, and in Jamaica, and I can give them a good spa day.
Yes.
I don't know where it's going to come from, but I feel like it's going to come. And so you guys who are watching, want to help, you can donate, or you can just purchase books on the website. They're also available on Amazon. And the proceeds do go to these women. It helps to, uplift them. And I'm opening up so that they can call me, talk to me, have sessions with me. I'm trying to send out daily motivational quotes, so these girls can have something to hang on to, because God knows I didn't have it at all. So that's what I'm doing. So guys, if you want to support, you can go to my website, www.michellescarlett.com.
I just dropped it in the chat, so hopefully people will go there and buy the books, people. I'm telling you, it's not just a good read, it's a great read, a wonderful stories, and it's for a good cause as well.
It is. What about you, Kamara? What is the name of your child care center?
Little Sunshine Home Daycare LLC in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
And she is beaming.
Boss lady.
Yes, I love it, Kamara. I love it. So we have some giveaways. Michelle, you have 2 books. The 2 books that you said you're going to be giving away. So can you speak on one question, something that you spoke about this evening? And we'll see if the viewers were paying attention.
Yeah, I told them at the beginning to listen up.
Yes.
Okay, guys, this portrait book will be given to anyone that can. The first person to type in the name of the poem that I wrote about being pregnant at 14. What is the title of that poem?
Ooh, that one is hard. I wonder if anybody.
So, Jan or Tom or Kerry is going to look up.
Most Jamaicans have multiple names, so yes. I'm looking in the chat. I'm not sure. We'll wait. We'll give it a little while.
Yes. Okay, so we'll give people a little bit while to answer.
Yep, just a few minutes. In the meantime, Michelle, tell us a little bit about your new book. Just a little snippet of that, what that's about.
Okay, so this book, Against All Odds, right? Now, when I was coming to America, I had no idea what I was coming to or into. I just wanted to leave whatever it was behind in Jamaica, right? I just wanted to get away from family shame, and I just had another baby too, which a whole other story, right? And so I just wanted to get away from that, whatever I was going through, because I was in a state of depression. I'd lost my job, and I was living in Adelphi by myself, and I just had to run away, right? And this book tells about what happened when I came here, the struggles right? The relationships that I got myself into, and how I managed to keep my head above waters while I was going through what I was going through. And so while I was going to school, I was writing. And as a matter of fact, both books were supposed to be one, right? But in the middle of my master's, I was so overwhelmed with, I'm halfway writing a paper and then some thoughts come in my head and I switched to writing the book. And then I came back to the paper. And, you know, at that time I had like 2 jobs, right? Masters and writing a paper. Wow. And so and writing a book, I mean. And so I decided I was going to stop it when I arrived here in the States. And so this book just tells how hard it was to be a single mom and to be in a different country, a different place without family support, and what emotions and what baggage I brought with me. So people were looking and saying, oh, she's strong and she's doing this, but I was battling a whole bunch of low self-esteem issues inside, even while I was going to school and achieving, right? So it was a battle, and it was every day I had to get up and decide, I'm doing this, and I'm going to be better. I'm going to be a better human being. I'm going to be a better mom. I'm going to be a better whatever it is. Right? It's a constant, everyday consciousness that you have to wake up with. And whatever mistakes you made, you can't, I try not to beat up on myself. And so I accepted all the mistakes I made. I did not blame it on anyone, right? Of course, there were people involved in my life and things that I did wrong and things that they did to me. But the most important thing is accepting your mistakes, right? Because if you don't accept your mistakes, the hurdles are gonna keep coming, and you probably can't get over them because you haven't accepted yet what it is deep down that you need to fix, that you need to work on, right? And so this book is all about, it goes into domestic violence too, and how we end up with in an abusive relationship and how we can get out of it too. It's possible to be happy. It's possible to be at peace. It's possible with all that we're going through, all that we've gone through. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and this book take you there.
Love it, Michelle. You know what? And as what Tam said, I have my book. I'm going to start reading, right? I actually started, and your story is powerful, right? So we would encourage anyone to support, to purchase the book, and just to see how resilient you are, right?
Thank you.
Yes.
So nobody's answered that question, so I don't think they were paying close enough attention.
But I think I have one. You have one? Yes, I think I have a good one. For both you and Kamara, for the viewers, Michelle and Kamara spoke a lot about support. What were the 2 main support? The one support in Michelle's life that she spoke about as a teenage mother, and what was the main support in Kamara's life that she spoke about as a teenage mother? If them not get this, well, we're done. We're done tonight. If them not get that one here.
We can't give it away if nobody not answer.
So what was Michelle's support system and what was Kamara's support system?
Okay, I'm dropping that in the chat just so that it's there for reference.
Yes, Noelle is saying she seems like she has to buy it. Yes, we do.
Definitely has to buy the book.
And anyone in Connecticut have to check out the child care center as well.
Okay.
Norma answered.
Oh, Norma said
Women's Center and the church. And Norma came with tonight. Yes, Norma for the win.
I know.
Poetry book. So in box, and so we'll figure out how we're gonna get it to you.
Yes, yes. Oh, and you know what? Janine Lewis. Okay, Janine is coming too. She said church, teacher, and women's center. You see, okay, they're not shaming us tonight.
I know.
They're listening.
But you guys actually were listening.
Oh, man. Ladies, this was awesome, awesome, awesome. And you know what? There's so many things that we got from you ladies tonight. And we know from listening to you, Your purpose was birthed through your pain. Teenage pregnancy is not a death sentence. It's not the end of life. What last word would you give to any teenage mother or father out there? Because it can go both ways as well. What last advice would you give to any teenage mother or father? Anyone can jump in first.
Okay,
Teenage father, sorry, Kamara. My advice to the teenage father is, even if you're not in love with the woman that you got, because sometimes it's not love, it's just teenage stuff, right? Stick by child. Support your child, whatever way you can. Food, beg the money, get it from your uncle, your auntie, whatever. But that little girl is going through so much that the boys don't go through, right? Support her, even if you don't want to be with her anymore. Support. Give her a break, let her, get her thoughts together, let her go back to school, whatever it is. But try to support her in any way you can. And to the teen moms, especially the ones in Jamaica, find a women's center. Find your proper support system. If it's not at home, it's out there. I gotta tell you, there are women like me who are out there trying to help you. Don't stay home and being a depressive state. Find support. Find someone who is willing to help to push you forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. What about you, Kamara? What advice would you give to teenage parents?
Like Michelle started with the dads. They do exist. And I have my SUN, my son, who is a product of, wasn't quite teenage, but a dad and mom who, mostly the dad who just felt like he didn't belong, didn't have a place in society. So he made a baby. But Michelle might have saw my post that I made earlier. And then even then, Michelle had to go first because she set the precedent. Men do suffer. They do. And I don't think they get as much support as the women do. And it is important to encourage them. And they also need to understand that we suffer different. They could walk away. As they oftentimes do.
You can't.
But to have a whole child, we need to have both parents. I'm raising a little son over here, and it's the same thing I wrote about on Facebook, having one and not the other. I need the support of both, but I have more support from one. But he also needs support from, both. But a lot of times dads are not supported like women are. So we have to be equal in supporting both parties. For the woman, find that support system. I was in Ulster Spring, Trelawney, way past where Usain Bolt come from, like almighty up in the cockpit country. There's no women's center, Michelle. Michelle, there's no women's center. I don't know what they have now, but for those girls, who don't have access to great places like the Women's Center, find that older woman, if you may. Find that one teacher. Not all teachers are critical of us teenage moms, because a lot of these teachers did suffer what we went through. Find that support system. That is key. Having a strong support system. I'm just using Facebook to connect with a lot of these older women from church who really supported me. Like I didn't even know they were loving on me at that point. I'm like, Jesus, shouldn't I see? Had no idea. But the words of encouragement, you can do it. Don't worry. It's gonna get better. It go get better. Messiah do big things. Who could have seen that? But having that strong support system, and here in America, it's the same thing. They need that support because they are ridiculed as teenage moms here. It's, more advanced here, more support, or we may think, but it's not always as good as it seems. The inner being suffers. They do have the support on the outside, all these, groups and homes, but the inner person, a lot of times it's how these babies are conceived. The trauma. So support is key. And for those who are believers, let me tell you, faith in God. That man, when everyone else let me down, everything fell apart, everyone left me, the one person who never left me, never gave up on me was God. And my little spiritual advisor is watching, Marcy. Marcy's like my right hand, my right toe, like we've known each other since we worked together in Jamaica, but even here, key support system. You have to have that. I'm still reeling from being a teenage mom.
Yes.
At 44. And then I never want my daughters to be that. My goddaughter is watching. I would beat that girl dead over the head. She lives in Jamaica, but I never want anyone to suffer. And I always tell her, you know, Brianna, I love you. You don't be a statistic, because that's what we're counted out. We are. So we need to support them. Having my daycare, I will pass up a working mother on any given day and take a young single parent.
Yeah.
It's such a bias, but
Yes,
I do. I have to admit, I do. I will pass up a child with 2 active parents and take that girl, or that some very rare we find a guy, but I will take a single parent any day and nurture them. It makes a whole lot of difference. If the parents are happy with childcare, the child is happy. If the child is happy, the parent is happy. But it's a package deal.
It's a package deal. Yeah. And that's so true, Kamara.
Definitely.
That is so true, because our children are impacted by how we are and the things then that we go through. And you guys are making an impact. Makeda made a note in the chat. She said it's such an important conversation. So many young women that are hurting and need to hear your inspiration and perseverance. So just know that you both are making a difference and an impact. And it was an absolute honor for Tam and I to speak with you ladies tonight.
We have one more giveaway before we go, and somebody better get this one because we talked about it.
Yes.
What was the name? See, Michelle even giving you a hint, because we have to go back to the beginning now. What is the name of Michelle's first book? What is the name of Michelle's first book? And she just gave you a hint, so somebody better get it.
We're going to give them a few minutes.
And one last thing I have to say to parents, especially parents, and I try to be as blunt and straightforward to my boys as I possibly can. It's kind of uncomfortable sometimes because they're boys. And I'm like, but I know you're doing it. So you didn't use a condom. Mom, oh my God. I don't care, right? Nobody asked me anything. So parents, speak to your children. Speak to your children about sex education, what can happen, you know, what they can do if you know they're going out, and you can know as parents that what your girls and your boys are doing. Give your boys condoms, give your girls the birth control, because I know that from telling them sometimes, you know, they don't listen, you know, so before they make the mistake, do what you have to do. And if they do make the mistake, encourage them.
Encourage them.
Yes, I know you're
them aside.
Yeah, it only makes things worse. It really does only make things worse. And you create hatred and, you know, long-term effects and all of that. So parents, please go have the conversation with your teenagers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
One more thing I want to share, guys, ladies, not guys, ladies.
Yes.
For me and Michelle, this is always one of my biggest points. So Michelle has her son who's in the United States Air Force, her first son, and my daughter is also in the Air Force.
Oh, wow! Look at that.
Yes, our firstborn.
Artist.
Yes, and then I think your second son, someone shares my birthday, May 16. Who was May 16?
Son.
That's my birthday.
You guys are connected.
Yes, and Michelle has a foster child, likewise myself. So
wow. You guys, it was designed.
And the connection, it's amazing. It's totally amazing.
Nice.
So
we have a winner.
We have a winner, and Tarsha Campbell says in search of self.
No, it doesn't qualify. Tarsha Campbell does not qualify.
I know Michelle was gonna say that, that's why I said I'm putting it out there. I'll let her. We know why Tarsha doesn't qualify.
Marcy though.
But Marcy
Lioness.
Any character in the book does not qualify. Tarsha Campbell is the character in the book. You cannot qualify Tarsha Campbell.
And I knew that. So I didn't want to disqualify her myself. So I said, let Michelle handle this.
Tarsha said she was expecting that. So she knew it. But we have another winner, Marcy Lioness.
Marcy Lioness says In Search of Self. So yes, thank you so much. So Marcy, you are a winner, Marcy.
Yes.
Yes. So we're gonna ask Marcy and Norma to inbox us privately so that we can get them connected and get them their prices.
Yes.
Ladies,
yes.
This was amazing.
This was amazing. And we can see from the interaction online that it was a very valuable conversation, one that is, well needed. Some promptings for some of us as parents out there. I myself have 2 teenagers. So, these are good points for us to remember that we need to have these discussions, face the reality of what exists now, and to have the conversations, even though, they might not be the easiest ones.
Yes.
So we thank you, ladies. We applaud you.
Yes.
We applaud you for everything that you have been able to do through your pain, and for all those that you have been touching. You are making a difference. You're reaching lives, you're touching lives, and I'm positive that you're also changing lives with your stories and the work that you're doing. So we thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. And thank you for everyone who joined us tonight.
Yes.
Thank you for following I'm saying Shan. For following Tam and I. What's that, Michelle?
Shanique bought my book and I wrote in it Shantam.
Right. Listen, people call me Shan, they call her Tam. We're like one.
It's all good.
We're not offended. Trust me.
It's all good. It's all good. But remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the viewers. We're going to be posting this video again on our YouTube channel. So share it, subscribe, like, drop us a comment. And thank you again for supporting Tam and I.
Bye, everybody. Bye. We'll see you again.
Soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.